All right.
All right. We're on.
All right. Hi, everyone. I have to hold this pose for a minute. I don't think I could do a full minute, Kate. But this is Gloria's project for our upcoming spring event. And look how bougie this is. This tea light all done in the hoop with IQ Designer and My Design Center. Look how cool this is. I am so excited to be the first person. Am I showing this before Gloria showing it? I'm the first person showing this, and I feel like it should be Gloria showing it because it's her job. Hi, Roberta. Happy birthday, Roberta, in the comments. It's Roberta's birthday today. But how's everybody doing today? It is a lovely, whopping 17 degrees in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania here today. So I hope that wherever you're watching from, it is much warmer wherever you're at because we were, what, 70 last week, Kate?
Yep.
70 to 17. It's pretty steep decline right there in the temperature. So, but I hope that everybody is having a wonderful day today. So I have a really fun and informative show for you guys. I'm going to show you guys how you're going to cut out your appliques on the Scan and Cut. And I'm actually going to do a little project with you guys. So you have these adorable Pie Please hot pads from OESD right here. And it is such a fun, easy little project. It's done all in an 8x8 hoop. So I'm going to show you guys how you're actually going to cut out the hardest part of it, which is the crust, on the Scan and Cut. Because that is what we love using those Scan and Cuts for, is those intricate appliques where I have the printout versions of it. And we could see this is a lot of cutting right here. That's a lot. And I hate having to kind of pick out that little piece of fabric to trim it with my scissors when I can do stuff like this perfectly on the Scan and Cut in one go. So I'm gonna break it down really simple and step-by-step for you guys today to give you guys confidence in using your Scan and Cuts. And if you have one and it's still in the box, you need to pull it out of the box today. Today is Scan and Cut Boot Camp, people. So we're gonna have a fun little project. But while everybody's still kind of joining in here, I am gonna take a minute to go back to this beautiful tea light here. So we do have our upcoming spring event and we still have some spots open. And now we have all the projects to show, except Tiffany took her bag back with her because she's just refining a couple things. But look at this one. So in Gloria's class here, she is gonna be using the Brother Avenir and the Baby Lock Radiance using My Design Center and IQ Designer to show you guys how to make this absolutely gorgeous tea light. And just look at this. She has little fairy lights on the inside here. And this is just so cool. And she did this really fast. Like, this was probably her fastest IQ project that I've seen her do. She started it. I walked away. I was probably in the other building for an hour. And then she was done with it. She goes, look, I was like, you did that all in like an hour? So really fun and easy project that you guys are going to get to do. And then we're going to have the best of all of the brands that we carry at our event. So you guys are also going to get to play with the 990 with Steve and Deb. And you're going to make these awesome pillows. You're going to make one. And you guys get to use a really cool feature on that machine, which is called pinpoint placement. So you could use these quilt designs and actually do this 4-point morph to perfectly morph those quilting designs into those blocks. Really fun. And then Deb said that she was also going to demo how to even do it on a smaller scale. And then also they added a second project to their class here. And you're also going to do free arm embroidery. And you guys are going to do a little tote bag. So this is a fun little bonus project that you guys are going to get to have in their class. They're going to be the big class. You guys are going to have a lot of fun and hands-on in that class. It's going to be super exciting. Now, Carol has another fun, really easy class for you guys. And you guys are going to get to play with the AccuQuilts there. So you guys are going to make a tea towel and then also a wallet. Fun little easy projects that gets to add to your bundle. And then I don't have the Shining Star one with us because Tiffany had to take it back with her. But you are going to make a bag completely on the serger and so a zipper in on the serger. It just blew me away. When she showed me that bag, I swear I was like, you did not make that on a serger. But she did it 100% on the serger. So if you guys have been seeing about our event, maybe thinking about it, definitely sign up before those spots sell out. Because usually like The month before is when the last few spots that we have always get taken up. Oh, Tiffany's in the comments with us too. She said sorry. It's okay, Tiffany. You know we love you. So, but yeah, so if you want to sign up for the spring event, definitely do so. It is such a fun group of classes that you guys get to have and making new friends and learning new techniques. We always have the best events. And most importantly, we all have lunch together. We feed you there at the hotel. Everything's all in one group. And then on your first day too, you do get to come back to the store with us, have a nice little private shopping experience. And if you are from out of state, you guys are gonna be like, wow, this is where the magic happens. Everybody thinks we have this giant warehouse and they're like, you guys have this like cute little quilt shop here. Not as big as everybody thought, but super fun. So I did want to talk about that really quickly, especially now since we have the tea light. And this is just so fun. I can't wait to make a couple of these myself. But now we're going to go into our little lesson here. So I'm going to show you guys a couple things on the scan and cut first. And I want to debunk the biggest thing right away, because I know a lot of you guys are out there watching and maybe you don't have a Brother embroidery machine yet, but maybe you have a Bernina that you like to use for your embroidery or a baby lock, and you do not need to have a Brother embroidery machine to use the scan and cut. Now, there are some cool features that if you do have a lovely machine like the Avenir where they could talk with each other and you get a couple bonus things. But if you have like a baby lock, I know a lot of you guys have a Radiance or a Solaris out there. I'm going to show you guys how you're going to take your embroidery design file and how you're going to actually split it apart on the machine. That way you could take the cut line and use that, because there's a couple different ways that you could use to get your cut files. So if OESD's designs, they don't give you the SVG file anymore. You don't need that SVG file in order to cut out. You only need your embroidery file, because where there's that little tack down line, we're going to use that to cut out our applique, and it's perfect. It's honestly easier that way. Now you also get these printout images too in the instructions. You can also scan this in with the direct cut feature, but I feel like that takes a little bit of extra time. So I'm going to show you guys, in my opinion, the easiest way, and I'll save one of these for another date on showing you how you could use these as a cut file itself. But if you do go to use these, do not put paper on your fabric mat. We have learned from my mistakes. So I'm going to jump over to the scan and cut here really quickly, and I'm going to just get us started. I have my files on a USB stick here, and we're going to plug this right into the side of the machine. So and then I think Kate has us focused in. So we have our scan and cut opened here. And this is just the home screen. So we have a couple different categories if we were scanning something in, if we were using a built-in cutting pattern. There's a couple extra features here if you're embossing or cutting out vinyl. And then I'm going to talk about this one next. So if you have a Brother machine, I'm going to talk about the My Connection feature, which does make cutting your appliques out a little bit easier. So, but let's just start off. We plugged our USB in on the side, and we're going to go to retrieve data right here in the bottom corner right there. And then we have a couple different options here. So there's data that you saved in on the machine. The cloud is actually going to be for Artspira. So if you're doing one of those super fun projects from Brothers app, you could send that over. You have this one with the laptop, which is going to be Canvas Workspace. So if you are sending a design over from that software from your computer, you could do that. Or what we're going to do for today, for our little hot pad here, to cut out our nice little pie crust, we're going to go to the USB icon. And then I have a bunch of different things on this USB, but I have my 3 different pie files for my hot pads right here at the bottom. And they're all PES files right here. So I could select any single one of them. I think I'm going to try to select the hardest one, which I think was this one. I think this one had the most cutting with it. Yeah, I think it was this one. And then it shows us our outline of our design there, right? In fact, it doesn't just show us the outline, it shows us the full embroidery design. So whenever we go to select this, we have 2 little options right here. So we have this shield icon, which a lot of us are familiar with, that little applique button that we see on our machines there. So if I tap that, it will show any parts of the design that's recognized for applique. And if you have a design that's made in Palette 11 or PE Design 11, and sometimes in some of those specific designs, it shows you on your embroidery machine that yellow tack down and cut line, that will actually acknowledge in this section here, and you could easily separate that from your embroidery design. Now, since this one's designed from OESD, and I don't believe they use that software, it's only kind of recognizing the full outer layer, so we're not gonna use this. But I know I get a lot of questions with that, so that's just what I wanted to show you. But today we're gonna use that little flower button right there. So we're gonna tap on that, and it shows us the height and width of the design. Keep all of that the same. Let's just hit OK. And then it's going to give us 3 categories here. So it gives us this little square and circle that are kind of highlighted together. And that's just like what it's recognizing with the whole design. We don't want to use that one. And then the middle one gives a full outline of the design. We don't want to use that one either. We want to use the one with the little zigzag stitch right here on the end. And what that is it's actually going to take every single step of the embroidery design, since everything is layered in embroidery design, and it's actually going to turn those all into separate cut files for us. So we're going to select the little zigzag there, and we're going to hit OK. And then it's going to give us that same height and width screen again, and we're going to keep all that the same. But one thing I want to note is that this little guy right here is going to be highlighted. Now, what that button is that's going to group everything together. Now, we can unclick it in this step, or I could show you guys how to do it in the next step, just in case you forgot, so I'll show both. But it's much easier if you unclick that in this step right here, so it doesn't group everything together and it separates it. And then we're going to hit set. And then let's go to edit. So it loads our full embroidery design onto our cutting mat right there. But obviously we don't want to cut out that whole thing. That would not make sense. So let's go to edit. And then we could see everything is selected right there, all these different red boxes, right? So because we ungrouped it first, I can use these select arrows, and now it will cycle through different steps of the design, which I can drag and put to the side. So I can separate my tack down stitches and use those as my cut files instead. So I'm going to undo that real quick, because let's say if I forgot to ungroup it, that button will be right here. And when you have everything selected first, since I kind of switched over to one part of the design, you'll be able to ungroup it right here in this section. But since I already did it, I don't have to worry about it. But right now, I'm going to select the parts of the design that I need, and I'm going to get rid of the ones that I don't need, so that I don't just kind of have a bunch of random cutting files on my mat. So I'm going to get rid of this one here, and I'll just tap it, hit OK, and delete it. And I'm going to keep dragging until I find the specific one that I'm going to need for my pie crust, which that looks like that's going to be the one that I need right there, because I could see the pie crust. So I'm going to select the other ones here and just delete those out. It takes just a couple seconds. Like we could see our satin stitch right there. I don't want to cut that out, you know. That other little stitch, we just want our tack down line, because that's going to cut our applique out perfectly for us. And then one thing to note, so with OESD's files, usually what they have is they have one that's a single stitch, right? And that's going to be your tack down for your fabric, and usually we cut that out for our applique. And then they have a stitch that goes over it that's like 2 stitches. We're going to cut out and delete the one that has 2 stitches, because it saves as one step. And I'm going to draw it on a piece of paper in a little bit so it makes sense for you guys. And we'll see that on the embroidery machine because I'm going to embroider up to that step. But on the scan and cut, just make sure that you have the part of the design that only has the single stitch. So there should only be one row, not too close to each other. And then just like that, we deleted everything and we only have that one part left for our applique. And the way that we could tell we only have one left is my select arrows over here gray out because that is the only thing left on my machine right there from that embroidery design. And that's going to be our cut file. And if you have multiple things in one design that you need to cut out, you can delete everything else except those two, and you could cut out two on the same mat in one go. And then from there, we'll hit OK. We would scan in our fabric, and then we would go ahead and cut this out. So whenever we do that, we'll go to Please Select, we'll hit Cut, and then we could cut this out. Now, I want to show you guys a really cool feature if you do have a Brother machine, specifically like the Brother Avenir right beside me. And a few other Brother machines will work with this feature. So like the Stellaire or Luminaire. So this is kind of one of the cool things if you do have a Brother machine. But the steps that I just showed you are going to work if you have any embroidery machine. So you don't have to have a Brother embroidery machine to use your scan and cut. You might have a Baby Lock, you might have a Bernina, and all you have to do is put your design file on your USB right here and plug it into the side and follow those steps to cut out your appliques. So pretty easy by itself. Now, if you want to see something even cooler, so if you don't want to have to transfer from USB from your machine to the scan and cut, if we go over to the Avenir here, and I'm just going to tap the screen. So in our settings page, if you purchase a scan and cut, on page number 7 here, you can actually connect it to your Avenir directly, which is really cool, but also really helpful for so many different things. So I'm going to take our same USB, plug it into the side here, and then let's go over to embroidery, because sometimes it's really nice too to be able to kind of see my design on a much bigger screen. So we'll go to the pocket here, and let's pull up our pie design. And I'm going to pick, I think it's this one. Yeah, that one has the most cutting to it, I think. Or is it this one? I mean, they all have a decent amount to them. So we could do any one. I guess I'll do this one here. So we'll set that, right? And then what's cool here with the machine is I can see all my steps. So like all these steps right here in the beginning, those are going to be like my placement stitches, my tack down stitches, and you know, I can kind of no-sew everything out and do that just to show you guys specifically which stitch. But here's something really cool. I can hit this pocket icon right here, right? And then once you connect your Avenir to your scan and cut or your Stellaire, you'll see this little scan and cut icon at the bottom corner here. And if I tap that, it's going to actually send over that design for me so that I can then easily pull that up on the scan and cut without having to use a USB. So to do that, on the scan and cut over here, we will go over to the My Connection feature. And then it's going to, once you tap that, you can either send data over from the scan and cut to the Avenir, which I've shown in a couple different videos, or we can retrieve. So for this one, we're going to retrieve, and then we're going to select from the sewing machine icon. And then it's going to actually show that pie design for us, just like that. So that's kind of something nice where you're not jumping with the same USB back and forth, you know, machine to machine. If you do have a Brother, it just connects right to it for you. So you could easily cut out all your appliques and just send them right over. So I'm going to still separate that design one more time really quickly, walk through that. We'll ungroup it. We'll hit set. And then we're going to go to edit. And then we're going to use the arrows here and just remove all of the parts of the design that we don't need to cut out. Just our applique line. I'll keep that one and then delete the rest here. So this is something nice because I know that, you know, Kimberbell, OESD doesn't always give the cutting files with every design. So all you need at the end of the day is just going to be your embroidery design itself, and you just separate it and use the applique tack down line. And then let me put that up there. Now, I'm going to show you guys how to set up your fabric mat, how to properly lay your fabric on, and how we're going to cut that out. So if you guys have any questions with what I just showed, that's the setup part with loading in your design. Now I'm going to show you guys how to cut it out and get this project started a little bit. And I can answer any questions that you guys have, especially if it's scan and cut or anything with the Avenir. That's what I am here for today. So I have our fabric mat here, and we have learned from all the scan and cut ones that I've shown how to properly put fabric on this fabric mat. Kate knows, she's laughing behind the camera here, because we're going to put some hot fix adhesive on the back of our applique fabrics. It just makes everything lay down so much nicer. It gives such a much nicer finish, especially for applique like this that we're cutting it out perfectly. You want hot fix on the back of it. Now, the first thing we are going to do though is we're going to peel off the paper from that. And I have the wrong color in my hand. So I'm going to use this beautiful like ginger colored fairy frost for like a nice little frosted pie topping. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for it to be spring, for it to be pie season. I'm beyond excited. No more cold weather. So I'm going to peel off that hot fix paper. And we're going to throw this far, far away from our fabric mat, because let me be clear, guys, do not put paper on this mat ever. Not even a quick, I'm just going to scan something in. Throw this in the trash can. Learn from my mistakes. And then we're going to take this, and what I like to do is I do fabric side faced down. Now, a lot of people have been telling me that if you do take the paper off, you could put the hot fix end on the back here, but I am just kind of in the habit here of doing fabric side face down. That is my preferred method. However, if you want to, you could take off the paper and do the hot fix side face down. Just make sure that you had this like fully fused. But I kind of like doing fabric side face down. Remember, there's not always a right and wrong way to everything. So, you know, you might have a way that you like a little bit better than me, but this is kind of my preferred way. And we're going to use our brayer tool here and really smooth this out, get all of the air bubbles out. You do not want air bubbles when you're putting this fabric on this mat, because I showed in one of our previous scan and cut lessons what happens if you do that and how it can disform your cut. So getting the air bubbles out is super important. You might have like the tiniest little one here, but you don't want anything like big. So we're going to roll this out here, and then I'm going to go over to the scan and cut, and we're going to load this in. Now, I know I'm going to get asked about blades a lot. Which blades are we going to use for cutting fabric? And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, because there's 3 different options you could choose from, really. And once again, it does come down to your preference. So we're going to take this right here with our mat. We have this little arrow pointing upwards, and I'm going to use this button right here. So this is our mat loading button. So this is going to load it and recognize what type of mat we're using. And now that's loaded in. Now, one thing to note, I always like to talk to people about this. So if you're new to using your scan and cut or you're looking at one, don't rip this mat out. Don't try to force this out. Just use this button right here. Unless it gets loaded in wrongly that you have to push it in and pull it out a little bit, just make sure that you just use this button. And then we could hit this little scanning icon right there. And we're going to hit start. And it's going to kind of scan in everything here that's on the mat for us. And then we'll be able to place our cut file right exactly where we need it to be. So I could still see, even with the back side of my fabric, the fabric that I have on this mat right here. And I can see that my cutting file is perfectly on that. It's not on the very edge. I'm not going to miss anything. So that's perfect. One last thing I have to do. Since I put my fabric face down, if I cut it out like this, my applique is going to be the opposite side. So we have to mirror it. And we could do that by hitting edit. And then we'll hit object edit. And then this little middle button right here, that's our mirror button. So it's just going to flip it like we do with a lot of our embroidery designs. You kind of have all those same buttons with the scan and cut. They just look a little bit different, but it's just as easy as when we're doing our embroidery. So then we'll hit OK, and we're going to cut this out. We're going to hit OK again. We'll hit please select, and we're going to do cut. And then I'm just going to triple check, make sure that my half cut is turned off. Since I'm cutting fabric, I want to cut everything out. And then we're going to hit start. Now, I'm using the fine cut auto blade. That is my preferred one. I really like the cuts. It makes super detailed cuts. It's intended for very fine fabrics like chiffons, organzas, anything like that. But I really like it when I'm cutting out my appliques with quilting cotton. I just find it gives a really clean cut. But you could also use your rotary cutter auto blade or your standard blade. So you have a couple different options. And it kind of comes down to your preferred choice over time. I'm going to stress it time and time again. There's not a right and wrong way. So, I know a lot of people get very, like, you have to use this, but you could use your preferred one. This just happens to be my preferred one. I like the more detailed cuts that I get.
This is going much faster than it would be to cut out these pieces all.
Oh my gosh, you know what? Kathy did this in store the other day, last week before Thursday, and she was like trying to get these and cut it out perfect. And that's like what the joy of the scan and cut is. So I'm going to unload my mat here, right? And we'll come back up to the overhead. And this is the best part right here, is just being able to kind of lift this up. And I'm going to have my applique perfectly cut out for me here. Because to cut that takes forever. And sometimes you can't like really get into the best spots. Even with your squeezy snips, your Karen K Buckleys, it's hard on those sharp 90-degree corners or something that's like a 35-degree. That is so hard to cut those out. So I like to do specific appliques like this on the scan and cut, and it's perfect. And I mean, there's so many different examples that we have, but I like anything that's detailed. So whether it's like this or Tommy's Knots of Luck pillow with the Celtic braids, those took forever to cut by hand. I always say cut that one out on your scan and cut if you have a scan and cut, because I love it. It is such a beautiful design. His work is amazing. I want to cut that part out on a scan and cut, just like this. So that was super easy. I'm going to get us started with the embroidery end, because I want to show you guys too specifically placing that. That is a big question that I get we did at one of our events last spring. We used the scan and cut, we embellished a jean jacket. But one of the things that a lot of people had a hard time was placing that applique perfectly so that it lines up with your stitching. And that's what I want to also show you guys today too, because there is a specific way that you want to do it, because I know I wasn't showed that first when I was first learning this with the scan and cut, and I was like, oh, it didn't line up. So I'm going to show you guys how to perfectly line that up so that you never have an issue with it ever. But yeah, any questions you guys have, put them in the comments. Kate's going to kind of shout them out for me below. But we're going to get started with our project here because I have that loaded up on the Avenir. I have my applique cut out. I'm just going to keep this on the mat here for a second just because I don't want to accidentally lose it and have to cut out another one, because if you guys know me, you know, I already probably don't know where a screwdriver's at, so. And I'm just going to follow along the instructions here. So we're going to go over to the Avenir here. And I am just going to hit embroider. So I did a little test one. And I know the first step is going to be our placement stitch. So that, we just hooped a piece of Insulbright in the hoop. There's no stabilizer other than this. So
on the scan and cut, John, do all the blades auto adjust to the depth of the material being cut?
Yes. So on the scan and cut, 325 and 330. Oh, this hit the, we do need to move the Avenir over a little bit.
Okay.
If your hoop ever hits the wall, guys, you'll hear that little beep. And you want to know the easy way of fixing this? Just turn off the machine. I'm going to slide this back over just in the right spot. And then we're just going to turn it back on. And then that way we could line back up with where we were before. How many of you guys have done that with your Solaris, your Radiance, your Luminaire, your Avenir, and you have your wall, your hoop hit the wall and you hear the little beep, beep, beep. So it happens. But yeah, so with the scan and cut, those blades will auto adjust that pressure. That's one of the really nice things about the 325 and 330 models. So on some of the older scan and cuts, you did have to adjust your pressure. On the newer ones, it auto does it for you. So whenever you see that blade go down, it does that first little like ear sound. It's testing the depth and the pressure at which it has to cut with, which is super cool. That's amazing how far technology has come for us like that, where I don't have to stress about something like that. All right, let me turn this one back on here. I'm going to remove the embroidery hoop real quick. You know, I almost like when something happens every time I do a show, because I get to show everybody how to fix it.
Because this happens to everybody.
This does. Steve and I, we always get a call like, oh no, my needle broke. Like, I like to show you guys how to fix it, because I can guarantee you guys, you did not break your machine if you broke your needle. Things like that happen, and we're all human, so there's never any need to worry. So I'm going to just slide this back in, and we could see here on the screen, it says, is it okay to recall the previous memory? So I'm just going to hit OK, and that's going to take me right back where I left off at. So I could probably back up a couple stitches too, actually. Yeah, let's go back a couple. Okay, and I should be good like that. So now, Deb asked, will it cut felt? Yes, you could cut anything on that scan and cut. Whether it's a lightweight like a chiffon, or even like, I haven't tried tulle yet, but I know that you can. Cork, you could cut out on the scan and cut. Kathy's joining in. She has a really good show today at 3. But you could even cut fabrics like Cuddle or a minky fabric. It's just kind of all about making sure you do use specific blades with some of those different fabrics. But since I know that a lot of what we do for our embroidery applique is all quilting cotton, that's why I say you could use any of those 3 blades, whether it's the standard cut blade, the fine or the thin fabric auto blade, or the rotary auto blade. You could use any of those 3 for your quilting cottons. Okay, so next step here is we have our tack down. And what they say in the instructions is to use another piece of Insulbright, or they call it Fuse and Fleece for the OESD version, but we're going to use Insulbright, which is what we like so that we can make this an actual hot pad, shiny side up. And then we have our first fabric. Now, for this, I'm not cutting as an applique, or really the red one, because what I am going to do is just be able to kind of cut all those layers whenever I go to like fold this all in one go. So we're going to do that, and that's going to give us our line here. And this is another super important step that I love to show you guys, is adjusting our embroidery foot height. So this is pretty puffy right here. And whenever I go to put that foot down, I don't want it to accidentally crash or kind of pick up the fabric. So we could go into our settings page at the little gear icon, and then we'll see a button that says embroidery foot height. So I'm just going to raise this to like 0.24, 0.26, just so that it's higher. And then I can sew and tack this down. And just kind of keep everything smoothed out, spread it out. We don't want it to pucker or anything, so. Okay, so that did that tack down for that. Now we're gonna have our tack down for our inner fabric. And this step here, I'm gonna just use this little red cherry fabric. So I'm gonna either make a cherry pie, strawberry pie, whatever we wanna call it, raspberry. This is kind of like a raspberry color. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna take that piece of hot fix out. Now, you could totally cut this part out here as an applique on the scan and cut, just like I did. You know, I wanted to show you guys with a more intricate fabric pattern or intricate cut with all the lattice here. Because this is just an easy, simple circle, I didn't want to add too much time to the lesson here. So I'm just going to cut this one out manually. I could have had it pre-cut it if I was smart, but our next step is the part that I really want to show you guys with placing the embroidery applique.
Rose is asking, can she use a sticky hoop for making a quilted jacket?
For a quilted jacket, Rose, are you like embroidering like blocks for the jacket, or are you doing edge to edge? If you could just give me a little bit more information, I'll be able to help you out here. Alrighty, now that's done. Oh, well, you know what? Technically, that was supposed to be our tack down. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to pull this out. I'm just going to trim this out really quickly using my handy dandy duck bell scissors. So I really like my duck bells a lot. I always use them, especially for cutting applique parts out fast. But then intricate things, I'll usually use my squeezy snips, but something like this, scan and cut all the way. Alrighty, perfect. So my next step is I'm going to tack this down here. Or I think I kind of combined steps. So technically you do your placement stitch, then your tack down, and I just combined them. And sometimes I do that. So you're technically fine if you do that, if you're like me and, you know, you're impatient, or you could say it's extra secured. But this next step is going to be the important one that I want to show you guys, and that's going to be placing out our cutout applique and lining that up with the next step here. So our next step is going to be our, you know, placement and tack down for our fabric here. Okay, so now on the screen here, we see our little pie crust right here. So this is going to be something that we're going to stitch out. You know what I just realized, Kate? That circle that I just stitched out twice, one was for your pie crust fabric, and then we would stitch this and cut it out. So I guess we could have skipped over that one since we did cut it out on the scan and cut. But I'm going to stitch this out real quick because that's going to be our placement line. Now that we already have our applique cut out, I'm going to peel that off of my fabric mat here. So I kind of try to like leave them so nothing folds over and gets dusty or sticks to itself. I usually just try to leave it on the mat. That way I don't accidentally mess up or have to cut another one out because I have done that before. Bull in a china shop. So we're just going to carefully peel that off right there. I'm going to leave that like that so that I don't forget my top and bottom because I've done that before. This way I know I just have to flip it over this way. Okay, and that just has those few little stitches there. But super fun. So, chair moved. Oh, I guess I did move my chair. But yeah, I hope that you guys are really enjoying this because if you do have your scan and cut, today's the day, pull it out of the box or pull it out because you guys want to use your scan and cut more. And I'm going to try to bring you guys more projects and more education with the scan and cut because I know there are so many of you guys out there that have it and I would love to show more with it. So on Wednesdays, that's going to be my goal. In fact, today at 3 o'clock too, Kathy and Mary Lou are going to use the scan and cut a little bit for some of their Kimberbell appliques that I'm going to show you guys some of the same steps that I showed today, just a little bit quicker on how to cut out 2 separate cut files on one mat. So you'll definitely want to tune in for them.
And there's so many embroidery designs now with appliques that include the SVG files. So many. Oh my gosh,
and if you have the SVG file, you're like set. So I kind of showed you guys today, if you don't have the SVG file, don't let that discourage you from using your scan and cut. All you have to do is just separate those steps right there. But if you have the SVGs, everything I showed is 10 times easier today. Okay, now I'm going to pull this out here. And we could see here, I now have my tack down stitch right here. So this is going to be my placement lines, right? Now, all I have to do is flip this piece over and I will be lined up perfectly. And we're going to press this down in those lines. So because we applied Hot Fix to the back of our fabric, that's going to hold it perfectly in place. Whenever you are doing embroidery appliques like this, you really want to use Hot Fix, and I cannot stress that enough because I could paper tape this down, but I don't want to paper tape this down because this is a direct and precise cut. I don't have a lot of room for error here. So there's a specific way I like to press this down, and I'm actually going to use this lovely little beautiful iron right here, our brand new Panasonic Mini, and I have it in the red colorway today. And I'm going to tap this down in certain spots. Now first, I am going to just kind of hit the red a little bit since I had Hot Fix on that, just to keep that from puffing up at all. And then we're going to line this up. So if Kate could really zoom in for me really quickly. So you don't want to, line it up like that right there. We want to make sure that we're right in those lines. That line is our placement. We don't want to be like 1/8 of an inch off or 1/4 inch off. We want to be as close and as precise as we can. And the way I like to do that is I start on my edges first, and I will slowly just kind of tap down around it. I'm not fully pressing yet. I'm doing light little taps, get it in place, make sure I have it like I like it. Everything's lined up. And then I can really press it down and lock it in place. And that's going to be the best way to go about any type of embroidery applique that you cut out on your scan and cut. Now, I did see a question in the comments, Cindy, yes, the scan and cut can work with your Solaris. That is what I showed today. So when the replay is done, go back and watch today, because you could take any embroidery file. You don't have to have a Brother embroidery machine, and you could plug that file right into the scan and cut directly to cut out your appliques. So I showed both ways today.
And at 3 o'clock.
And at 3 o'clock. So tune in with Kathy and Mary Lou's show. So now that I had that perfectly lined up, I just pressed right over that, and that hot fix holds that down. Best spot for me, and I could stitch out the rest of my little pie design here, and I'm golden. So this is that part I was talking about with there being 2 lines. So with OESD's next step here, this is like our tack down stitch, right, for our fabric. So like whenever we do our little cutout, and it does like 2 little rows right next to each other. So you don't want to cut that one out on the scan and cut, because then you'd have 2 cuts. You want to just do the first one that's just 1 line. And as this stitches out, you guys will kind of be able to see. But if you've done any of OESD's projects before, you know that with all of their applique designs, with the second stitch that cuts it out, there's like 2 little lines that it stitches down right next to each other. So
people are asking about the iron that we're using.
Oh my gosh, the Panasonic Mini. So yes, I have this in the red colorway. I am gonna call this the cranberry colorway, because look at that cute little cranberry red color right there. This is such a perfect little iron that I love. So it has a little plug. It's cordless. There's a cord that plugs right into your outlet, and whenever you're not using that, that cord wraps up and goes in right here. And whenever you're done with it, you put your little lid on it, and it's perfect. It's perfect if you're going to quilt retreats, if you're traveling with it, if I'm going up to my sister's for the weekend, if Paula's going up to the cabin for the weekend. But it is a perfect little iron. You get a good amount of steam with it too. Just don't burn yourself. It's not a Laura Star iron. So, but I absolutely love these little mini ones, especially for appliques like this. Because sometimes with your regular iron that is bigger, that's hard to fit that in on those bigger or smaller hoop projects. So I really like this one, especially the point at the top here, which made pressing that little applique fabric down perfect and easy with precision. I didn't have to stress about it. But we have 2 colorways of this too. So the first one is red. I'm calling it cranberry, all right? And then our other one is green. And for once, I don't have the green one in the studio. I have the red one. But it's this like beautiful seafoam green. What do they call it? Do they just call it green, Kate? Or I call it like a seafoam green. Just green. Red and green. Maybe you need one of each for the holidays. That's kind of far from now. I don't want to think about Christmas right now, because that's all more gifts I'll have to make. So, but yeah. And then I do want to mention too, guys, everything that I am showing here, there's just a few exclusions. The scan and cut is excluded. Does qualify for 10% back in Gloria Bucks. So whatever you purchase today, you'll get 10% back that you could use in your account for your next purchase. It's the best way to shop with us. We love showing our loyalty to you guys, because, you guys just keep us going. We appreciate it. So we always like to have those loyalty points for you guys. But yeah, the Panasonic irons are great. We absolutely love them. They are one of our preferred irons that you guys know we live tried and true by. Every single corner in these buildings there's like 3 irons. I think there's 2 on the table. I have my Laura Star over here. So there's a lot. All right, now I do have the embroidery design. So if you want the embroidery design for these Pie Please hot pads, they are right here. They're gonna come on a stick for you guys. I didn't grab the case, but I have the stick, of course. I left the case next door, but you'll get it all on a stick right here. You could print out the directions with your printer back at home. They come on the stick for you guys. Really fun, and there's a couple different designs with them. So I could even show the close-up of the designs. But there's just 3 different pie crust variations with some different stitching. They are super cute as little gifts. They're all done in an 8x8 hoop. So they're a fast little easy project and super precise if you're using your scan and cut. Now, speaking about the scan and cut too, if you don't have a scan and cut and you want one, I have it in the bubble right now. So I have the SDX 325. It is an amazing machine. I love my scan and cut. I do use mine back at home with any intricate appliques, and sometimes when I'm cutting out things like 3D flowers that I've made for the one bag for Kathy. I made that months ago. I wish I still had that. That was a good wedding gift. And if you want any more information on the scan and cut, feel free to give Steve and I a call at 412-344-2330. Option 2 will take you to one of us. And if you are local, you want a little in-person hands-on lesson, we are more than happy to show you anything that you guys want. We could also set up a little FaceTime lesson as well. Now that we, do live in a modern age, we have cell phones, so we could always set up a video chat, and we're more than happy to do so. Okay, so now that that's done stitching, and I just want to kind of pull this out and show on the overhead here, because the rest is going to be all the decorative stitching. That last stitch that I just did, if Kate could super zoom in, it does like 2 little stitches side by side. So whenever we use one of those on the scan and cut, you just don't want to use this one. You just want to use the single one, because that way it doesn't cut out a little bit on your applique. We want it to be perfect. Now I'm going to just hit this with the iron real quick, and then all we have to do left is just stitch out following the rest of the steps. I think there's like 30 minutes of stitching on this one. So I'm just going to keep this one in the background. A really fun, easy project. So I love them. Super cute. You can make it a blueberry pie, a pumpkin pie, raspberry, strawberry, blackberry, any color pie you could think of. Color pie, flavor pie.
And they're great for 4th of July coming up too.
Oh my gosh, 4th of July is going to be here before I even know it. I'm going to blink and it's going to be here. And you know what I'm most excited about, Kate?
What?
Is my aunt's pretzel jello salad. She makes the best one. I look forward to it every single year, and it's like the best.
That is a staple around here.
It is a staple.
It's so good.
I was seeing it on Instagram the other day too, and I was like, oh, I'm so ready for it to be summer. Alrighty, but I do have a couple other things to show you guys today if you want to make this project, a couple other fun little accessories that you guys might want. So I'm going to just follow down the list. Now, first things first too is a fabric mat. So, it does not hurt to have a second fabric mat back at home, or if you kind of used yours to the max. As I say, between every single cut, make sure that you wipe down, you clean it off with an unscented baby wipe, put that little plastic sheet back over it to keep it nice and protected to get the most use out of your fabric mats. And yes, they do last a long time, as long as you don't put paper on it. Do not put paper on it at all, because that will just ruin your mat.
It will.
Kate, Tommy, and I would know. It only took 20 mats, I think, for us to figure that one out. All right, the next one is the spatula and hook set too. So I absolutely always recommend these if you have a scan and cut. You need these. The hook tool really makes peeling anything up or separating your layers super easy, even just peeling off that hot fix paper. And same with the metal spatula tool as well. It's really, really easy to kind of get those fabrics off of the mat because we have those rolled on there really nicely, and you just want to take them off without like ripping them off. So nice to kind of separate those layers. Always recommend one of these sets. Now, also, this is a must-have, especially if you're cutting fabric, is you need a brayer. No matter what, you could use your hands. The brayer is so much better to use because I'm not trying to use my hands and spread out my fabric. This is getting every single air bubble out of that fabric whenever I put that on that mat here. And just to emphasize it, you know, maybe I'm putting this piece of fabric right here. That's going to make it much easier because I could take my hands, right, do that, but that's not adhered the best. If I use this brayer, that's getting that super flat on the mat, no air bubbles whatsoever. And that's what we want to have a perfect and flawless cut with our Scan & Cuts. That is just as important as making sure you have one of these. Now, another great little tool to have too is going to be the scraper tool. And I always say this is a nice addition to the brayer. For fabrics, I use the brayer. However, with some vinyls, or if I'm doing cardstock, I might want to use the scraper tool just so that I could really wipe out any air bubbles rather than trying to push it out, especially if it's something a little bit more delicate. And then now we're going to talk about blades. So a little bit about blades here, all right? And I have a couple here. So first one that I prefer to use, right, is going to be the thin fabric auto blade. I always call it the fine fabric auto blade. I call it the wrong thing, but I prefer this one for my preferred one for my appliques. So it's a thinner blade than your standard cut one. And I'm just gonna pull this out to show you guys. So you only ever need to buy one of these. That's it. And then over time, whenever you need to change out your blade after you've gotten your full use out of it, you could buy a blade refill here. And just to show you guys the blade, which this one is really getting used here. It is a tiny little blade which makes super precise cuts. That is what I really like here. So it's perfect for all types of fabrics, whether it's super thin, organza, or your quilting cottons. Now I probably wouldn't use this one for cuddle if I'm being honest. I wouldn't use this one for cuddle, but we're just staying in the realm of quilting cotton for today because that's what we really use for our appliques. So this is one of my preferred ones. Then we have the rotary blade, and I think I forgot to grab the holder for it. Now the rotary blade is really good for kind of all types of fabrics, but I'm going to say specifically if you are cutting out something that's circular or curved. So if I was cutting out the circle part for this pie hot pad right here, and maybe I was cutting out a bunch of circles, doesn't matter what type of fabric, I prefer the rotary blade because it's much smoother and going on that line than a straight blade. That is something that's super nice. Then there is are those the only blades that I grabbed today? Okay, that's fine. So a little bit. And then you have your standard cut blade, which you could kind of use for everything. But really sharp points, I like the thin fabric auto blade. I find I get a much nicer and more precise cut with like no accidental like loose hairs or anything. So. And yes, Joyce, we are using Insulbrite, so we're not using Wash Away, we're using just Insulbrite itself as a stabilizer. That brings me to my next thing, is Insulbrite. So this is what we want to use if we're making a hot pad, and something that I have definitely learned over my time being here, it's really important that you use this one instead of just like a regular batting if you're making a hot pad with it, just because it helps hold that heat and also kind of reflects that a little bit for you as well. So this is a yard by what, 40 inches?
45.
45, okay, so more than enough to make probably over a dozen of these cute little hot pads, but you could also use this for any of the IQ Designer hot pads that we've shown over all the different lives as well. So always, always, always have a little extra package of this back at home. Now, we also have fusible fleece here. So we use this for a ton of different projects as well, especially bags is something I like to use this for. So for this project, I'm probably not going to use this one here, but the fusible fleece is really nice to have for so many different projects. Now, insole fleece we probably would use for this project as well. So this one here is perfect for sewing, you know, a lunch bag, shopping bags, oven mitts, pot holders. So is this one fusible, Kate? It says interfacing. I don't know if this one's fusible though.
I'll check.
No, I think this one's just sewing, but it's a little bit different than your insole bright. So this one, definitely more reflective, probably a little bit better at repelling the heat as well or holding it in. So I would probably use this or insole bright if I was making oven mitts. I think I really want to show them that. I can't wait till we get those fabrics in. I'm the biggest loudmouth. I can't hold a secret for anything, right? And we got these beautiful fabrics coming in. I don't know if we're getting them till like May. I think we're getting them soon though. And like, I hope I don't get in trouble. It's a panel, okay, for a hot pad. And I'm gonna show you guys how to put a fancy fill in it and sew it all in a hoop. So you might wanna stock up on some of this now. All right, and then last one here is insole shine. So this is for something that's gonna be for like a cooler or a lunch bag that you wanna keep something cold with. It might be making a cute little beach tote just to keep like my drinks in, my lunch in, and this is gonna be the perfect thing for that because that's really gonna help keep it cold. This I would use specifically for something like that. For this hot pad here, I might not use this, but it's always great to have both in on hand for when you do see one of these fun little projects that you might need one or the other. All right. Most important thing today, featherweight hot fix. We use this for everything. If you don't have 1 or 2 or 10 packages back at home, you need to stock up because even though we have probably over a dozen of these opened between both buildings, our filming building and our main store, I, for whatever reason, can never find an open one. For whatever reason. It always cracks me up, Kate. But it's perfect. So it is essentially a double-sided glue that you're going to use for all of your appliques. And it just gives everything such a nicer finish. If you're ever doing an applique and you see the fabric kind of like start to poke out and bubble out, that's because you didn't have anything fusible on the back. So that hot fix adhesive really keeps everything tacked down permanently and just makes it look so much more professional. So I always say stock up on that. You can never have enough hot fix, and I have learned that the hard way. Okay, one of the other things too that we're gonna use for this little hot pad here is steam-a-seam. Now, what this is essentially, think of it like hot fix, except it's a tape. And we could use this for the seams of our garments, our bags, but especially closing up our little seams here without having to stitch anything. You cannot get me to hand stitch one of these closed. I am sorry, I just don't want to spend that much time. I like to make a fun little project, use a little piece of steam-a-seam, hit it with the iron, and then I'm done. That makes my life much easier, especially if I'm rocking out 12 of these as Christmas gifts or a little 4th of July gift. So always stock up on some steam-a-seam too. And this is the 1/2 inch wide one. So this is going to be really good if you're doing these embroidery projects. That little extra 1/8 of an inch really makes a difference. I don't like to use the 1/4 inch on these ones. I like to use the 1/2 inch. All right, now 8x8 embroidery hoop. If you guys want to get the more budget-friendly one, you guys want this one. And is this one open?
I can open
It should
it
be
for you.
open. Here, I can get it. I always say getting an 8x8 hoop is great, but you want one at a little bit of a better price plus 10% back. So you want to get one of these ones here. And the only difference is going to be that ergonomic screw. But It's perfect. You could always have an extra hoop. You need to have one in the hoop ready to go while one's stitching out here. Now, pre-wound bobbins, must-haves. Are these all white? Yeah, these ones are all white. So you always need to stock up on pre-wounds. I cannot tell you guys enough here. It's been like a bobbin crisis. Every time I go to demo a machine, I can never find a bobbin. It's like the most embarrassing thing. So you know how they have like those like little quarter dispensers, Kate? Like that people like wear like checking somebody out at like a bingo thing or whatever. I need one of those with bobbins. That would be perfect. Like here's a bobbin, good to go. But you get what, 25, right? 25 pre-wounds here. Must-haves. We fly through so many bobbins. It's ridiculous. Well, it's expected. I wouldn't say it's ridiculous. If you embroider, you guys just know we use a lot of bobbins here. Okay.
Best press.
Best press. So one other thing I forgot to mention. So I didn't really show you guys prepping your fabric, which I probably should have now that I'm looking at it. I know we've done it quite a bit before here, but before I put on the hot fix adhesive, I like to hit my fabric with some best press. So what this is this is a clear iron-on starch. They have a clear unscented one. There is my favorite one, which is the peaches and cream scent. If you want everything to smell really nice, I always recommend this one right here. It's my favorite. But you always want to hit everything with a little bit of best press, just because that helps make your fabric a little bit stiffer, and then you put your hot fix on and it just gives you a nice and crispy, clean cut, especially for your appliques. So definitely something that I would recommend is stock up on best press. Now, something really cool. I can't wait to show you guys more with this, and I think it is starting this Saturday. Tommy was talking to me about it. I think I got to hold him to it if he's here Saturday. But what we might try to start doing here is a little bit of a software Saturday. It might not be every Saturday. It might be every Saturday, maybe one Saturday a month. But Tommy wants to start to bring you guys a little bit more about softwares and really educating you guys on it. Because I know there's a lot of you guys that are out there looking for a software, some that already have it, and kind of learning those next steps. So one of my new favorite softwares is a new one that came out this year from Brother. It's called BE Embroidery Studio, and it's one from Wilcom here. And there are just so many amazing features on this. So Steve demoed this last Thursday, and I think I'm gonna make him demo it again. He'll just be pre-set up this time. And it is just so cool. So one of the things that we have a lot of people come in here and ask us about is, hey, you know what? I have my high school logo right here, and I want to just digitize this in an easy step. But you guys know there's so much that you could do just with on our machines. And with a lot of these designs, you know, you may want like a satin stitch that tapers in, or being able to really get in there and change your stitch properties. So BE Embroidery Studio is such a cool way of taking a JPEG image just like this, snap of the fingers, and it's flawlessly digitized. And I just want Kate to really zoom in specifically on this tiger right here. And we can see that we have the fill stitches, we have the different satin stitches. And that's something that we really only get those beautiful designs like that in software. And Steve showed it, and it was just a snap of the fingers, super easy and stitched out beautifully. So we are going to start teaching these softwares a little bit, because there's so many different ones that we offer here, and we want to really educate you guys on those as well, so that we could help you find the one that would be right for you to really help you guys increase your next level of embroidery with the different projects that you could do. But in the bubble here too, the BE Studio is qualifying for that 10% back. So that's a really good chunk of Gloria bucks right there that you could save and use towards your next machine as well. Honestly, that is a really good chunk right there. What is that? Is that like $350 just about?
Just about, yeah.
I think it's like $350 credit back. So if this is a software you're considering, definitely check out with it. And if you want any more information on this as well, feel free to give us a call at 412-3 344-2330 and select option 2 to get a hold of myself or Steve or Tommy in this case, so he is our software expert and he's more than thrilled to kind of go over everything that this could do. So now I do have a couple other things I'm going to show and some fabrics that we need for our little pie hot pads. But the first one here is going to be my favorite feet, the bi-level feet, because I absolutely love these feet. Now, there are two sides. I confuse everybody, all right? The left side bi-level foot is going to be like your quilt binding foot. And I don't know if I have one over here to compare, but I like this one much, much better. Whenever we're doing, I'm top stitching a seam and I need to use my left-right shift of the needle, I really like the deep groove on the bi-level foot right here because it just goes right against that seam and it doesn't let that fabric shift at all. So if you're doing your quilt binding with that as well, I really like this one because it is also non-stick coated. That is a big thing. Our regular quilt binding foot, the one that we sell a lot from Baby Lock, I think everybody has 2 of those feet. I prefer this one better. Because of the non-stick coating, it really helps glide over your fabric. It doesn't create any friction as well. And I could go over faux leather or vinyl with it too, which is a big plus side. So for the quilters out there, or if you're doing your binding on the edge of your projects, get the left side bi-level foot. Now, for all my garment sewers and bag makers, we honestly want both of these feet. I have both back at home, and whenever I am working on a certain project and maybe I have it flipped the other way, I might switch over to my right side bi-level foot. Amazing feet to have, plus 10% back, and regularly the feet on their own are about $60, so we do kind of have them marked down a little bit as well. But I can't recommend them enough.
Hi, sorry to be in your show.
I know, Kathy's joining in. What's up, Kathy? She has some great Kimberbell deals coming up.
I just needed a darker yellow goldy thread, and you have them all in here.
Yes, I do. I like to hoard everything in here,
Yes,
so.
but that's okay.
We don't hoard, we collect.
That's right. That's the right word, collect. That's what I tell everybody.
All right, now speaking about binding, I feel like this is a bad transition since I never finished these, but I have to. Maybe I'll demo the binding on this with this foot coming up here one of these Thursday nights. So I absolutely love these OESD garden flags. We made both of these in store, and guess what this all is, guys? This is a lot of applique here. And it's perfect to cut all these intricate ones out with the scan and cut right behind us. I honestly wish I would have gone back and did some of these with the scan and cut because some of those more intricate cuts that go a little bit deeper are really hard to get into. So if Kate zooms in super close, you see a little bit of the fabric poking out, but I kind of want to hide that because I'm embarrassed. But these fun little tiling garden flags are super fun, really easy to do too, and you could do all of this in a 6x10 embroidery hoop. So if you have a 3550, a Vesta, a Flare, or as long as you have a machine that does at least 6x10, you could do these on them, and it's just such a fun project. And there's 2 types. So there is the Welcome Spring one right here, which I think I really like this one. And then there's also the Welcome Summer, and there's interchangeable little ones. One says spring, one says summer as well. There's a blank one that you could add in your own phrase. Super fun little easy projects here. And I have those designs on a stick as well. And then there's this other cute little new one as well, which is the 4 Seasons Welcome Flag. And this is a really cool banner. I think I have to make a store sample for this one because it also uses applique, and it looks like you have a little interchangeable, what would you call this, Kate?
Oh, well, it replaces the letter O.
It's like an interchange. I didn't know what to call it. Well, I mean, it is an O, but you have it interchangeable. So you could make it a fall leaf, a Christmas snowflake, a spring flower, or the summer sunshine. What's the word I am looking for? Patch? I mean, because you can interchange it, or at least make it interchangeable, which is super cute. But I absolutely love this. Another fun little easy project that you can make here. All right, and then I think I only have a few fabrics left to show you guys, and then I'm going to be back on at 3 o'clock with Kathy and Mary Lou. We're going to show you a little bit more about the Scan and Cut and using it for their next event that they got coming up here, which is Hello Summer? Sipping on Sunshine. I'm losing my track of thought here today. But that's okay. You guys know me. I'm all over the place. Okay, so 4 fabrics here. We have our first one, and this is a nice basic. So this one's called Ginger Cookie. This is a Kimberbell one. So it is Maywood. It's really good quality fabric, and I'm moving it out of the camera way when Kate's trying to zoom in on it. But this is a nice basic solid. If you want a solid for your pie crust right here, you can never go wrong with that. And then we have this beautiful thatched one right here. What is the shade of this one? Cranberry. Perfect. So this is a really nice cranberry color that really complements that ginger right there. So nice if you want to make, you know, I guess a cranberry pie. I'd say also works for raspberry too. But then we have our favorites, Fairy Frost. You guys know this is my favorite collection that we carry year round. So up first here is going to be our Fairy Frost in dark denim. And I grabbed this one because I was like, oh, that would be like a nice little blueberry pie. And I'm going to just set these up a different way really quickly. So I was like, oh, that would be really nice if I was doing like a cute little blueberry pie one. And it's just such a nice little frosted look to it. Now, the one that you guys all probably want that I used for my little one today is the Ginger Fairy Frost. And this is a nice shade. I don't think we've ever sold this one before on live. And this is such a beautiful color right here. So I've used this one for a lot of different ones, especially the little gingerbread man from Spree Club for the Candy Christmas Appliques. It's one of my favorite ones. This is our first time showing it. But it works perfect if you're doing like a little frosted pie crust because, oh, I'm thinking of all the pies at Eaton Park right now too, Kate. I'm getting hungry as I'm talking about this. And then our next one is the Blood Orange Fairy Frost. Now, this definitely doesn't look as orange to me. This looks more red to me in my opinion. But it works if you were doing like a little cherry pie as well and you wanted to do all fairy frosts. And then there's a couple of these Tilda fabrics too that Kate thought would look super cute with these. So you could kind of mix and match. So the first one here is Brie Basics in Burgundy. So that cute little flower petal pattern here, I think would make a perfect little inner filling color if you kind of wanted to make one out of Tilda fabrics, which would be super cute. And I only have a little bit of this Brie Basics collection left. I mean, what we got in was what we got in, and that stuff sells out fast. So, but these next two are going to be perfect for the pie crust, or at least this one here. So this one is Poppy Seed Tea, and this is just such a nice color. This is actually like the perfect color for the pie crust. So I would probably have used this now that I'm looking at it. Oh, that's nice. And then you do have that little background plate as well. So we grabbed this one, which was the Poppy Seed in Mouse. Mouse Gray is what I'm going to call this one.
I love the Tilda fabrics.
I know.
Like, this is like one of my favorite collections that have come in recently, and I cannot stop like raving about it.
You know, I really like that minimalistic aspect to it, but it's not a solid. And, you know, I could compare the solid here to this one, but I really like just that it's like the little dots, the little pebbles to that fabric, which just makes it such a nice addition and really stand out for your appliques. It just gives it that little bit of depth that it needs, I feel like. And, you know, I will be 100% honest. I was not sold on Tilda right away until I saw this collection. I was like, oh yeah, you know what? Her basics collections just like make sense, because sometimes it's just like a plain basic just doesn't always look the best. And that's why I always like to use a fairy frost. But this collection here, I really like. I mean, I would have probably used this one for my pie crust. So now, a couple other filling fabrics that we got. So I have this other one here. And this is another thatched. And what's this one?
Dutch iris.
Dutch iris. Okay. Well, this definitely works for a blueberry right here. And I think that would have been absolutely perfect. It's like that perfect like blueberry blue shade. It doesn't look purple to me. It looks more blue. And then we also have Whisper Weave here. So this isn't a blue, so another blueberry style pie. So if you want more of like a brighter blue for that, but it still has that little woven texture to it, which is why they call it Whisper Weave. But it's just, once again, you don't always want to use a basic there. You want something that pops.
We have a few Kimberbell fabrics.
Oh, Kimberbell. Okay, Kathy's going to get mad.
What are you doing?
Well, she's hollering from the other room. She heard Kimberbell. Okay, so this first one here is Caramel Sparkle, and this is actually adorable for a pie crust. So you guys know that we love our Maywood fabrics, anything Kimberbell. So if you kind of want to make that in those style fabrics, I would totally use this one for the crust right here. Super, super pretty. And I only have a few of these left, but Kate just updated the quantity there. So really, really love this fabric. And then for your little background plate, which is what I used for the one that I just showed you guys here, is I use this other Kimberbell one, which is gray on white with the tiny little dots. Once again, it's not a plain solid. Those little dots help elevate that project a little bit. So, and then our last one is going to be the red tufted star from Maywood as well. And I do love this one. I always use this fabric here for all my serger demos.
Kimberbell basics are great for appliques. I mean, they really all work together really well.
Exactly, and that's the nice thing. So now I do want to remind everybody, all these fabrics I showed is 10% back as well. And I have my giant mess of fabrics here that I have to clean up before 3 o'clock.
That's right.
But Kathy loves to come in here and tease me. But I hope that you guys did really enjoy this little lesson today. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me or Steve. You could always email me as well with my contact. Kate could put in the comments there. But make sure that you join us at 3 o'clock for Kathy and Mary Lou. They're going to be showing some Sippin' on Sunshine, their next little Kimberbell project. And I'm going to show you guys how to cut out those appliques on the Scan and Cut as well. But I hope that everybody has a great day today. And we will see you all at 3 o'clock.